There's so many major market moves happening right now, and all of these moves are coming directly from Washington.
And now I think we're starting to see why.
Congressional trading always frustrates retail investors, but now more than ever, as members of Congress are making some market moves that seem to be tied directly to big announcements out of Washington.
In the time since President Trump has actually made that announcement, she's been buying the dip.
MarketBeat's Chris Markoch dives into 3 stocks members of Congress are pouring into right now, including one big surprise.
The stock's down 31% in the last month. The stock's just getting badder.
But there has to be a reason they're buying.
There's got to be something here.
What insights could Congress have on this that you don't? And will it be enough to follow their playbook? Let's dive in. Chris, so great to have you back on the channel today, talking about a topic that always gets under people's skin, but now probably more than ever before, and that's congressional buying. Let's talk about why right now is such a specific frustration for investors out there when it comes to congressional buying and selling in the stock market.
Obviously, we're at a volatile time in the stock market, and we're at a volatile time in Washington. And I think the simple reality that retail investors should keep in mind is that members of Congress have access to information that we simply don't have. And they have proximity to the power centers, whether that's in corporate America or whether that's on Capitol Hill, that we don't have. And so we can debate, and that's a topic for other videos that we've already done about whether or not congressional trading is legalized insider trading, which it probably is. But I think what retail investors need to do is realize that you maybe can't change the rules of the game, but you can play by the rules. And one of the ways for MarketBeat subscribers is MarketBeat has a great tab. It's a free tab for all investors. It's under market data, and there's a thing that says congressional trades. And you can look and see what members of Congress, what stocks they've been buying and selling over a time frame. I think it's between 7 days and 365 days. And that can give you a playbook for what legislation is being passed and why they may be interested in investing in these specific stocks.
I know you have a look for us today at 3 stocks that members of Congress are buying nonstop right now. And a lot of these stocks really will surprise you because they kind of don't make sense on paper. So Congress must know something else that's going on. We're going to get to that list in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about this a little bit more, Chris, there's so many major market moves happening right now. And all of these moves are coming directly from Washington, in some cases directly from the White House. There's an announcement about tariffs, the market goes down. There's an announcement about tariffs, the market goes up. And I think the closer you are to knowing when those announcements come out, the better you're going to do in the market. And unfortunately, like you said, we can follow the plays that they're making, but there's a huge delay in when they actually share what plays they're making. So sometimes you miss it, right?
Right. I mean, usually they have to report in a timely fashion, but that timely fashion may be several days after they place the trade before it actually gets recorded. And that's reality. But if you're a longer term investor, and when I say long-term investor, what I mean is you're not looking to time your entry and exit points. You're just looking to say, what stocks may be going up over time, that doesn't matter so much. If you're a day trader or somebody that's looking, or you're a person that's more of an active trader, then you're going to want to be more in tune of when Congress is making those trades. At the same time, if you're an active trader like that, you've probably got your own signals that you're looking at as well.
Yeah, Chris, they actually have 30 to 45 days before they have to disclose all of their trades. That's according to the Stock Act. So some of the data that we're getting on these congressional trades could be more than a month old. So that's a lot of time and a lot can happen between then. But you can stay up to date on all of the stocks that matter to you with up to the minute alerts right to your phone. All you have to do is sign up for our free new text alerts on MarketBeat. You can just text YouTube to 68285 68285. That's texting the word YouTube to 68285 to sign up for this totally free service to get alerts on any of the moves on your favorite stocks. Let's dive into this list today. Again, these are some buys that Congress is making right now that could still make sense for you as retail investors. The most interesting one we're going to save for the end. It's one of the ones with the most action from members of Congress right now. And again, it doesn't necessarily make sense on paper, but there has to be a reason they're buying. Chris, go ahead and start with the first stock you want to talk about that members of Congress are buying right now.
When we say members of Congress, the one that I think was stood out to me is this is a member of Congress, and we're talking about the Bitwise Bitcoin ETF. The ticker symbol there is BITB. And what I found very interesting when I was using the MarketBeat tool on this was that in the last 90 days, Senator David McCormick from Pennsylvania has made 18 separate buys of BITB. Now, we don't know exactly how much each transaction was, but we do know that each one was in an amount between 15,000 and 100,000. So he's been making a pretty big bet on this ETF. And now I think we're starting to see why. On the 22nd, Bitcoin hit a record high. It's down a little bit from that this morning, but it does appear that Bitcoin is starting to have much more broader appeal because there's growing concern about the unsustainability of the U.S. debt. Even we saw this week, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, who is no friend of Bitcoin, has grudgingly said he'll allow his clients to buy Bitcoin. He hasn't changed his stance on it, but he's allowing his clients to buy it. So there may be some debate about whether Bitcoin's a hedge against inflation or a risk asset that people buy when they feel that the market's going up. But either way, Bitcoin is growing in popularity, and it seems like that's the bet that David McCormick was making.
I think it would be interesting to look at the chart right now and just see how much McCormick has made buying this stock over the last 90 days with so much growth that we've seen in Bitcoin. I imagine this ETF has seen quite a bit of growth too.
Yeah, the stock is up about 15.6% in the last 90 days, in the last 3 months. So, you know, again, Bitcoin doesn't go, the ETF's up 62% over the last 12 months. It's up 17% year to date. So it's paid off. And if you believe what some people say, where Bitcoin could be significantly higher than it is now by the end of the year, there could be more room to go here. And as we've talked about before, with the ETF, you're not owning actual Bitcoin, but it's a safer way, I guess I'd call it, for some investors to get exposure to Bitcoin.
And 15% isn't a huge swing. I know ETFs in general are better at not having those huge swings. So we're not talking about a member of Congress making a 60% gain overnight, which some have on other buys.
Yeah, but in 3 months, it's not a bad return, especially with the way the market's been.
Well, let's move on to the next company that has a few more members of Congress looking at this stock.
The next stock we're talking about is Eli Lilly. Ticker symbol is LLY. So Lilly's been down a little bit lately, and that's because, as we know, President Trump came out and he's been discussing the idea of the United States getting most favored nation status when it comes to prescription drugs, and he seemed to single out what he called the fat shot, which would be GLP-1 drugs, of which Lilly has, you know, two of the most recognizable in the industry. Zepbound, I believe, is the one for obesity, and Mounjaro is for diabetes, but I might have that mixed up. As people know, these come with a hefty price tag. That's great for a company like Eli Lilly's profit margins. So obviously, if there was some sort of price capping going on, investors could be concerned about where those profits would be going forward. And Lilly stock dropped about 12% from peak to trough after the announcement was made. But here we go again. It seems that at least one member of Congress, in this case Marjorie Taylor Greene, is playing the long game. As I picked up on the screener, she's made 2 purchases within the last 30 days. And what's important to mention when I say the last 30 days, Bridget, is the screener goes for 30 days, but I've noticed these purchases have been within the last 2 weeks. So in the time since President Trump has actually made that announcement about most favored nation status, she's been buying the dip on Eli Lilly. And again, we don't know how much the purchases were. We do know that they were in the range of that 15 to 100,000 range. So I instantly was thinking, well, why might that be? And one of the reasons why that might be, Bridget, is because Lilly has also pledged to commit up to $50 billion to manufacture prescription drugs in the United States. And that should keep the company within the good graces of what the Trump administration is trying to accomplish. And I think that there could be the reason to buy the dip on Lilly.
I think it tells you something when Trump made a comment and then this stock in particular dropped. Then one of Trump's closest allies, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is buying the stock. I think that's a signal for retail investors for sure, because she does have such close proximity. If there was a real concern in the future, I feel like she would know about it.
And let's face it, I mean, Nancy Pelosi's been rather quiet from what I've seen on congressional trading, but Marjorie Taylor Greene's kind of picking up that mantra from Nancy Pelosi, and she's kind of becoming one of the congressional leaders that investors are starting to watch and saying, she's a very active trader, and she seems to be right more than she's wrong. So maybe we ought to be looking at that.
And she's really good about disclosing her purchases in a really timely fashion. Like you said, this Eli Lilly purchases she's made have been in the last 2 weeks. So it gives other investors time to take note and maybe make their own action if they want to. Well, again, interesting buying the dip play from a member of Congress here on Eli Lilly. This last one has quite a few members of Congress making purchases at a time when it just does not make sense on paper. Let's talk about this company.
Yeah, so this is the one that I said I think it surprised me the most. And I think it still is one that I'm kind of scratching my head about here, but there's got to be something here. And the company's United Health Group. It's one of the largest components in the Dow 30. Obviously, the stock's been battered over the last few weeks, and we don't need to go into all the reasons why that's the case. So the stock's down 31% in the last month, and that's taken the stock negative year to date. It's negative over the last 12 months. The stock's just getting battered. In fact, what we've seen with United Health, because it has such a weight on the Dow, is it's been dragging the whole Dow index down with it because it's one of those Dow components. So what I noticed on the screener is in the last 90 days, this is starting on March 1st, ending May 21st, 9 different members of Congress have bought shares of UNH on 18 different occasions. Once again, Marjorie Taylor Greene's part of the story because she made 2 of the more noteworthy buys on May 14th and May 16th. That's when the purchase was made, not when it was recorded. So she's been buying it. She has been buying into this dip heavily. One thing I noticed was that if you look at the options chain for United Health Group, there are over 1,000 call options on the stock for June 27th, so a month from now, with a strike price of $350. Well, $350 is a fairly nice gain from the stock where the stock's trading today, which is around $296. So it seems that it's not just members of Congress, but also it seems like you've got traders that are looking at United Health and thinking maybe the stock's been oversold. And again, we have to say the stock is separate from the company. The company has issues. The company has issues that they have to work through. And for some investors, that may make the stock a no-go. But if you're a trader and you're looking for a stock that may be oversold right now, it seems that Congress and other traders are suggesting that UNH may be that choice.
Now, I want to dive into some of the issues the company has, but first, let's just share the names of all of the purchases out there and how big of purchases are we talking about with United Healthcare?
We don't have the ability to see the exact dollar amount and the exact number of shares they purchased. That would be great if we did, but we don't. What we do know is that on 2 separate occasions, Marjorie Taylor Greene has made a purchase. One on May 14th, we know that was for up to $50,000, and another one on May 16th that was up to $15,000. Separately, on April 24th, Michael McCall, who is a Republican representative from Texas, made a purchase, and that was again up to $50,000. We don't know the minimum on all of these. The minimum on these have been $15,000. So we know that there's significant trading going on. We just don't know what the exact dollar amount is. But again, that's significant dollars that's being put into the stock.
I think it's also significant. These are two Republican lawmakers buying on the dip after United Healthcare was down, which it still is right now. So that opportunity does still exist for retail investors out there if you think there's something behind this. Now, there does seem to be some risk in this because of what is going on with this company. We all know the tragic CEO news, but then the other CEO action they've had just in the last few months has kind of been a really hard hit to this company. So let's dive into some of what's going on with United Healthcare that could have the stock this low.
We always tell investors to keep their emotions out of it, and it's hard to keep your emotions out of a story like United Health. Let's just start with the one that's easier to keep your emotions to the side of, and that's the CEO issue. And that's actually where I think maybe some of the confidence is coming back is, of course, we had the tragedy where the CEO of one of the divisions of United Health Group was murdered. Then you have the new CEO, the CEO of the overall company is stepping aside, but there's some confidence that the former CEO is stepping into the role. So there's some confidence there that perhaps you're going to get some more secure leadership at the helm, and he's going to be able to navigate the company through the regulatory issues that we're hearing about. Unfortunately, some of those regulatory issues that we're hearing about are uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable to talk about. They're uncomfortable to think about. When we start hearing about the possibility that United Health was incentivizing nursing homes to not transfer patients to hospitals, these are uncomfortable topics. Bridget, my mother was in a nursing home before she died, and that's a sensitive topic for me. But these are uncomfortable things to talk about. It may make United Health uninvestable for some investors. But, we're a channel that's pointing investors to opportunities. And if you believe that the stock may be oversold and you believe that you can't undo what's been done, but you can look forward and say what is going to happen with the company, there could be an opportunity here. That's what members of Congress seem to be signaling as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Chris. Again, this is an investment that it's hard to take the emotions out of it. There's several stocks out there like that right now. But this is one company that's seen that negative. I think it's at 5-year lows.
Yeah, it is. It's literally at 5-year lows. It's so any gain the stock has made. For investors to put that in perspective, if an investor bought the dip in 2020, when the market went down sharply when the pandemic started, but then United Health came back faster than a lot of other stocks did for obvious reasons, and it stayed there, and you've had those gains for those 5 years, it's lost all of that in the last month. Basically, it's lost all those gains. So this is a big dip, and again, it's not without reason. But again, we're here to try to point investors to opportunities. This is one that I noticed when I was on the screener, and it was hard to miss. Although I'm not sure if the CEO is enough reason for me to buy the dip, but for some investors, it might be.
And some of those investors happen to be members of Congress who might know a little bit more about what's happening with United Healthcare and the regulatory issues too. So thank you so much for diving into these 3 companies that members of Congress are buying right now. I've got the link for MarketBeat's congressional stock screener that Chris was talking about right in the description of this video. It's a free tool. It's something that you can look at right now to see what members of Congress are buying over the last year. There's a lot of insights that can be gained. So go ahead and click that. Check it out for yourself. It's a fun tool to play around with a little bit too as an investor. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think members of Congress might be onto something with these plays, or are you staying away from these stocks that are on, again, near 5-year lows? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for joining us, everyone. As always, happy investing.